March 4th, 2018. A quiet Sunday in the English city of Salisbury. Nothing in this medieval town suggests that, within hours, it will become the site of the most brazen chemical weapons attack on European soil since the Second World War. Inside this unremarkable house lives a man with an unusual past, a former colonel of Russian military intelligence who once sold his country's secrets to the British. Sergei Skripal, 66 years old, and his daughter Yulia, visiting from Moscow. On this cold Sunday, they are preparing to head into town for lunch. They will never make it home. This is the story of how a single drop of poison, invisible, odorless, and lethal, nearly ignited a new Cold War. Their route that afternoon would be retraced by investigators thousands of times. Every step, every door, every surface touched. Salisbury was about to become a crime scene of unprecedented scale. But the danger had already arrived. Hours earlier, an oily, colorless liquid had been applied to this door handle, a chemical so deadly that microscopic exposure could kill a grown adult within minutes. At 1:40 in the afternoon, father and daughter entered the Zizzy restaurant in the city center. They ordered food. They shared a bottle of wine. Witnesses later said nothing seemed out of the ordinary. By 4 in the afternoon, they had finished their meal and walked toward the heart of Salisbury. Witnesses later described their behavior as strange, disoriented, as if something inside them was slowly failing. At 4:15, they collapsed on a bench beside the Maltings shopping center. To passers-by, they looked like a man and his daughter who had drunk too much wine. A nurse passing by noticed something far more serious. Foam at the mouth, pinpoint pupils, convulsions. She called for emergency services immediately. Within minutes, ambulances arrived. Both Sergei and Yulia Skripal were rushed to Salisbury District Hospital, in critical condition. Doctors did not expect them to survive the night. Detective Sergeant Nick Bailey was one of the first officers to enter Skripal's home that night. He had no idea that, by touching the same door handle, he had just been exposed to a Soviet-era nerve agent. Doctors in Salisbury faced a mystery. The symptoms suggested a nerve agent, but there had been no spill, no battlefield, no accident. This wasn't supposed to happen in England. Blood samples were sent 30 miles north, to Porton Down, Britain's most secretive chemical weapons research center. The scientists there had encountered something they had only ever read about in classified files. The result was almost unbelievable. The toxin was Novichok, a fourth-generation nerve agent developed in the dying years of the Soviet Union. A weapon designed to be untraceable. A weapon never before used on European soil. Novichok, meaning newcomer in Russian, was the crown jewel of a clandestine program called Foliant, known only to a handful of Soviet scientists. It was 8 times more lethal than VX, and it left almost no chemical fingerprint. On March 12th, Prime Minister Theresa May addressed the British Parliament. The intelligence services had reached a conclusion. It was highly likely, she said, that the Russian state was within weeks, 28 countries expelled more than 150 Russian diplomats. It was the largest collective expulsion in Western history. The world had taken sides. British intelligence began working backward, tracing every camera, every receipt, every face that had passed through Salisbury in the days before the attack. 2 men, in particular, kept appearing in the footage. 2 men had checked into a budget hotel in East London on March 2nd. They identified themselves as Alexander Petrov and Ruslan Bushirov. Russian tourists, they said, here to see the famous Salisbury Cathedral. They visited Salisbury twice, once on Saturday to scout, once on Sunday to act. CCTV footage placed them within 400 meters of Sergei Skripal's home, less than an hour before the poisoning. Inside their luggage was the delivery device, a counterfeit perfume bottle, professionally modified by a Russian state laboratory, to spray a microscopic dose of Novichok onto a single targeted surface. Weeks later, the two men appeared on Russian state television. They claimed to be ordinary tourists who had traveled to Salisbury simply to see its famous 123-meter cathedral spire. Nobody outside Russia believed them, but within months, the open-source investigators at Bellingcat revealed the truth. The men were Colonel Anatoly Chepiga and Dr. Alexander Mishkin, officers of Russian military intelligence, the GRU, decorated heroes of the Russian Federation. But the story of Novichok in Salisbury was not over. After the attack, the assassins discarded the perfume bottle in a public space. It would remain there, untouched, for nearly 4 months. On the 27th of June, a local man named Charlie Rowley found the sealed box near a charity donation bin. Inside was the perfume bottle. He gave it to his partner, Dawn Sturgis, as a gift. Dawn sprayed the substance directly onto her wrists. Within 15 minutes, she had collapsed. She would never regain consciousness. Dawn Sturgis died on July 8, 2018. She was 44 years old, a mother of 3, the only fatality of the Salisbury poisonings, and the first British civilian killed by a foreign chemical weapon in modern memory. The British government launched the largest decontamination operation in modern UK history. 13,000 items had to be removed or destroyed. The bench was incinerated, the restaurant gutted, the Skripal home sealed for years. Against all medical expectations, Sergei and Yulia Skripal survived. So did Detective Sergeant Bailey. They were given new identities, new homes, and disappeared from public view. They have never been seen in public since. Over the years that followed, investigators identified more than a dozen GRU operatives connected to the Salisbury plot. None of them have ever stood trial. None of them have ever set foot outside Russia again. Moscow denied involvement. It denied the very existence of Novichok. It denied the identities of its officers. And yet, the evidence kept accumulating, year after year, country after country. Salisbury was not an isolated event. Investigators linked the same secretive Russian unit, known as Unit 2-9155, to assassinations, sabotage, and attempted coups across the European continent. In 2024, 6 years after the attack, a formal public inquiry opened in London. Its final conclusion was unambiguous. The Russian state had ordered the attack, and Vladimir Putin, the inquiry stated, had almost certainly approved it personally. Today, where Sergei and Yulia Skripal collapsed, there is a quiet memorial. Most who pass by have no idea what happened on this spot, or how close it came to changing the world. A perfume bottle, a door handle, a single Sunday afternoon. The Salisbury poisoning revealed that the boundaries of espionage had shifted, and that no city, no matter how quiet, was beyond the reach of those who wanted to send a message.